Recently, the phenomenon of chaotic water and electricity charges in Shenzhen's urban villages, which has become a hot topic, has left many tenants feeling helpless. Shenzhen citizens are leaving messages expressing that the behavior of landlords in urban villages, charging tenants extra for water and electricity, is simply outrageous. Although Shenzhen announced regulations on the pricing of water, electricity, and gas for residents' daily living last year, limiting landlords from charging more than government-set prices and preventing them from irregularly sharing the costs, some rogue landlords still continue to act against these rules. One tenant tearfully complained that their landlord charged 8 yuan per ton for water and 1.5 yuan per kilowatt hour for electricity, which is more than twice the government-set prices in Shenzhen. Moreover, the landlord could not provide the necessary approval documents from the pricing department. The rental property did not offer any additional services related to water and electricity. Despite previous complaints from tenants, the practice of charging exorbitant fees by rogue landlords has persisted for decades. Even employees of the Southern Power Grid admitted that they have not been able to escape the high electricity fees charged by Shenzhen landlords for over 10 years. It is as if the electricity produced by their own company is being sold back to them at a high price by the landlords. This violation has existed for decades, and although many tenants have raised concerns, very few instances of landlords facing significant penalties have been reported. Now, the water and electricity fees in Shenzhen have decreased. The water fee has gone from 8 yuan per cubic meter to 5 yuan, and the electricity fee has decreased from 1.5 yuan to 0.98 yuan. It seems like a reduction, but in other areas, additional charges have been cleverly introduced. It's a policy with countermeasures, making it challenging for tenants to resist. They impose an additional 30 yuan management fee for a single room, 50 yuan for a one-bedroom apartment, and 80 yuan for a two-bedroom apartment. To look at this, the water and electricity bills for a month haven't decreased, but the rent has increased, and you've paid an extra few dozen yuan. Remember back when I was renting in Shenzhen, I turned off all the lights and appliances at home. If you go and check the electric meter, it's still running non-stop. The water meter is the same, continually running. If you suggest changing to your own electric meter, the landlord absolutely won't agree. Why? Because then they can raise the rent and charge some management fees. Last year, a friend of mine mentioned that when he was looking at properties in Longhua, the lowest total price for a 3-bedroom was around 6 to 6.5 million. This year, he checked again in early January, and it had dropped to 5.5 million. In mid-2023, he looked again, and it was down to 5 million. Now, in Shenzhen North Station, I just sent him information about Xi'an Mansion, priced at 4.69 million for a 3-bedroom. He said, "I'll wait 6 months. It might drop by another 50,000. Waiting for half a year means a 50,000 drop. Who dares to buy under these circumstances?" This is a project in Pingshan, the Blue Sky Left Bank. Previously, they sold some units for over 100,000 yuan, and now they are releasing new units at 75,000 yuan per square meter. It is the most explosive project in the whole Pingshan area. Now, you can directly purchase a unit for 26,000 yuan per square meter with a sealed unit already. Opposite here, it was selling for over 40,000 yuan when it opened. Now, it starts at 26,000 yuan. It is the place where the property prices have fallen the most in the whole country. Those who are most anxious now are those who bought a house in 2019 and 2020. They still have to pay off their mortgages. Anyone who bought a house is in a tough situation because the housing prices have dropped by 70%. Who should be blamed for the situation? It is hoped that relevant departments will take action, issuing heavy fines as a deterrent, and truly stand on the side of tenants to consider and serve the public. Resist arbitrary increases in water and electricity fees, and refuse to be exploited like leaks. Wanda Group in Dalian is in trouble again, making this autumn eventful. This winter for real estate enterprises is exceptionally cold. Wanda Group has been forced to execute an accumulated amount of 1.6 billion yuan and a total of 4.64 billion yuan. This amount may not be significant for a conglomerate, but it raises questions. If the wealthy Wang Jianlin is short of money, Can he turn from a supplier of funds to a defendant? Wanda is not alone in this situation. Its counterpart, Sunnac China Holdings, is also facing forced execution with an accumulated amount of 7.1 billion yuan and a total of 111 billion executed. Foodie Real Estate has faced a forced execution of 1 billion yuan with an accumulated execution exceeding 91 billion yuan. Have you noticed a common characteristic among these enterprises? They lack a powerful financial backer. Recently, there were negative rumors about China Vanke and its major shareholder, Shenzhen Metro and Shenzhen State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission, came forward to support Vanke. But when it comes to Wanda, it is different. Observing such events, we can evaluate which developer is more reliable and has less risk. Why do some buyers end up with unfinished buildings? Remember this phrase? Excessive cheapness equals risk. As China's economic growth slows and geopolitical tensions escalate, many foreign companies are actively seeking better investment channels. This has also prompted international companies to reconsider their supply chains and discontinue investments in China. Recently, some industry insiders in China have posted online articles indicating a stampede-style collapse in property prices in Shenzhen. In the central area of Bao'an District, commodity prices have dropped from over 4.2 million RMB to 1.85 million RMB, a staggering 55% decline, with similar declines in other areas, sparking heated discussions. An article titled "The Commencement of a Stampede in Shenzhen Housing Prices" discussed the significant decline in Shenzhen's housing prices, causing considerable shock to the market. The article provided statistics comparing current prices to the peak period, highlighting that the average total price of houses in the central area of Bao'an, Huaiyang, Nianhua County, has dropped from 4.2 to 4.3 million RMB to the current 1.85 million RMB, a steep decline of over 55%. Additionally, prices in areas such as the first phase of CR Land in Nanshan Science and Technology Park dropped from about 19 million to 12.52 million RMB, a 34% decrease. The data above indicates a significant drop in Shenzhen's housing prices, causing a substantial impact on the market. Prices in different regions have experienced a large decline, generally ranging from 1/3 to nearly 50%. This is an important change for investors and homebuyers who may need to reassess their investment and home buying strategies. The article concludes by stating that regardless, the decline in Shenzhen's housing prices is an important phenomenon for the market and will attract attention to changes in future trends. Investors and homebuyers should closely monitor market dynamics and carefully assess risks and opportunities. This article appeared on mainland Chinese networks from November 8 and was widely circulated on platforms like NetEase, sparking discussions among mainland Chinese netizens. Many believe that housing prices in first-tier cities like Shenzhen are experiencing a significant drop, causing existing homeowners to lament the substantial shrinkage of their assets. Some also argue that Shenzhen's housing prices were originally the most inflated among the 4 first-tier cities, and this decline is merely a return to normalcy due to the controversy and negative outlook on the property market. If housing prices are declining in multiple cities of a country, with an average drop exceeding 20%, it might be considered a systemic disaster. If a city like Shenzhen, one of China's most resilient first-tier cities, is witnessing a 30% to 50% reduction in prices and increased panic selling, it could indeed be a cause for great concern. Such a situation spreading further could be more severe than the real estate bubble burst in 1990s Japan. So, why did news suddenly emerge about a sharp decline in second-hand housing prices in Shenzhen? I speculate that this is related to recent rumors in Shenzhen about the government lifting restrictions on the prices of second-hand homes. Information from real estate industry sources in Shenzhen, as per my research, suggests that after the implementation of the policy that requires homebuyers to have a certain amount of down payment, both new and second-hand home sales in Shenzhen have remained sluggish, showing no signs of recovery. In recent months, Shenzhen's monthly housing transaction volume has been around 2,000 units. Just think about it. In a city as large as Shenzhen, with a population of approximately 17.6 million, A monthly transaction of only 2,000 units indicates a market in a state of paralysis, lacking vitality. September to October is traditionally the peak season for real estate sales in mainland China, but the market continued to be sluggish. So, as soon as this peak season ended, whether it's the property owners, real estate developers, or the government, all three parties couldn't sit still. Hence, rumors emerged about the cancellation of price restrictions on second-hand homes. Some say this information was halted shortly after it was leaked, while others claim it is quietly being implemented. Consequently, we see panic-driven price reductions and attempts to sell off properties by second-hand homeowners. Even in a city like Shenzhen, which has one of the highest degrees of marketization in China, real estate market information is quite opaque. There are no media or analysis institutions publishing dynamic and comprehensive real estate data, so we can only discuss this based on feedback from various channels, including some less reliable sources of information. Last year, the average transaction price of houses in Shenzhen was 60% to 70% higher than in Guangzhou. The cost of living in Shenzhen is high, but the city's advantages are eroding. First of all, the Chinese Communist Party's high-level plan was for Shenzhen to take over from Hong Kong and become a financial center. However, it has not been able to compete with Singapore. Hong Kong declined and Singapore rose. In terms of a financial center within China, Shanghai surpasses Shenzhen. The A-share trading center is in Shanghai. In terms of a shipping center, Shenzhen ranks behind Shanghai and Ningbo. After China's foreign trade cooled down, the high net worth population among trade practitioners in Shenzhen also shrank. As a technology center, strictly speaking, China does not have a place like the Silicon Valley, Seattle, Austin, or Houston in the United States that is particularly attractive to technology and innovation-based companies. Even in comparison with Guangzhou within China, Shenzhen lacks advantages. It does not have the intellectual resources of universities like Sun Yat-sen, Jinan University, or South China University of Technology. Shenzhen doesn't even have local 985 and 211 universities. From all perspectives, Shenzhen lacks the conditions to support its much higher housing prices compared to Guangzhou. Let's also look at population and economic size. Shenzhen's permanent population is 17.6 million, Shanghai's is over 24 million, and Beijing's is nearly 22 million. Shenzhen's population is much smaller. In 2022, Shenzhen's GDP was over 32 trillion yuan, while Shanghai's was over 44 trillion yuan and Beijing's was over 41 trillion yuan. So Shenzhen's population and economic size lag behind Beijing and Shanghai, and its market size is small, lacking resilience. With such high housing prices, it's understandable that Shenzhen's housing prices can't hold up among the first-tier cities.